2026, what a year. I'm saying that and it hasn't hardly even started yet. Looking forward to what Trump does, not looking forward to what happens and continues to happen to the state of Virginia. Most of the stuff that's going on is all about early voting this and election that. And that includes a missed opportunity on January 6th in Senate District 15, where 13,000 people were needed to actually do something about the Democrats and their advancement of ungodly and unholy constitutional amendments and referendums. All of the congressional districts, except maybe for like 4, are going to have primary challengers. The congressional district number 5 is no different. And so I ran across a candidate for there. Her name is Melanie Lucero. I'm going to just take a moment. You can come along with me to say hi and hello and talk to her about this very strange year, this very strange election, and what it looks like coming up. We have such a packed year, as we mentioned. I mean, I've been doing this since late 2008, 2009, only because I wanted to figure out how the world worked and what I had pretty much been ignorant of and abandoned. So I started very late. And now I think I know some things, but I still need to learn more. But I do know for a fact this is a terribly packed year. And you have challenged or have filed for the Republican primary in the 5th District of Virginia, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so we want to know about that, and we want to understand more about you. But I want to start with the mean questions. Maybe mean, maybe not. Why are you running?
Look, we're always told as Republicans, get involved, stand up, speak your voice. And that's exactly what I've done. I want more action and I want less talking. I want less campaign speeches and I want to get involved. So I do believe that we need representation in the government, and that should be at the local level, from local staffing positions, at the state level, even just having government positions down to the post office. And at the federal level, I do believe that the Republican Party needs help and we need to stand together more than ever, but we need to get involved in order to stand together. I'm honestly shocked at how many people are super excited for me because they're Republicans and they're like, but they're very scared to say they're Republicans, and they're telling me on the sidelines, "You're so brave. We look up to you. You have so much courage. I can't believe you did this." And it's like, in my head, though, I'm not understanding why more people aren't getting involved and participating. And I think we need representation in the government. And I think a lot of us should see how we can do that and get in these roles and positions to be able to have a voice in the government positions.
So one thing that as I learned over time about the design of the party in the state of Virginia, and in general, we're supposed to come together after tearing each other apart, aka this phenomenon known as a primary. Well, it makes sense to actually find the best representative we can, but man, the struggle and the jockeying of position, the defining of the other opponent, the false accusations and the ridiculous comments that a campaign, typically in a primary, often produce. You suffer through divisions in that because we go at each other for our favorite primary candidate, and then somehow we're magically supposed to just come together after just often just permanently offensive situations that occur during that time. So that's probably, I don't know if you've heard it yet or not. It's like, you're just causing trouble. You shouldn't be running. Well, everyone knows that's wrong, but everyone believe it firmly, right? Because of what's at stake, they'll say, or whatever reason they have. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, look, in order to win the general election, we need to put up the best candidate. And to do that, we need to have options and choices. I think that's what America's all about, is having options and choices. It shouldn't just be one just because you held the position once and now you're guaranteed it for life. No. Americans want options and choices. And every few years, things modernize, things change. The environment, the space, the task, it changes. If there's a major attack in the United States, that's going to change the environment moving forward for the next election. There's so many things that change. And I think the American people, and especially in each party, should want their best candidate to come forward. And yes, I do see that, it is, a little bit of a bloodbath between the Republicans to get to the primary. But at the end of the day, the best candidate should win. The best candidate who has the best chance at winning the general election. is what's important. So I hope that everyone comes together and we unify. We all have the same beliefs, we all have the same values, and it's just a matter of who we choose to represent us at that level.
Well, I will say this about it because I'm not happy about it. I think it's a terrible design, but I'm not sure anyone would buy my redesign, and I won't even bore you with it. But
I'm kind of
when
curious.
well, it's almost an uninformed position about selecting the most valuable candidate. I mean, for example, I don't know if you read much Isaac Asimov. When we were talking earlier, we talked about Robert Heinlein, but there's another science fiction author, Isaac Asimov, who essentially invented AI in terms of what he called a multivac because he didn't know about transistors when he wrote this. He was talking about vacuum tubes, but it was a consciousness computerized, global running computer system, which was a mind called multivac. The computer would call you in. It selected who the candidates were and ask you questions like, "What do you think of the price of eggs? Do you take an umbrella with you always when it rains?" Or questions like
Hmm.
that don't seem to make any sense, but they had so much built into them with this hyper intelligent computer. It would pick from that, and then you'd be in charge. So I'm not saying that's a good idea, but it's an interesting idea.
It is an interesting idea.
But but to the point of division, I mean, Trump's facing certain impeachment. I mean, they're boasting and just rubbing their hands in anticipation for this. The midterms, if they go
Hmm.
against him, doesn't just stop his agenda. It stops us in a way that I don't know we can recover from. It was amazing that he came at us twice now, and he's in his second
Hmm.
run. First year's ended. Um, so that's kind of the division. People are terrified, or at least they're very angry, or there's a mixture of both. And you add into that this massive amount of uninformed ignorance that even us carry about
Hmm.
how it works, why it works, strategies we don't know about, funding sources over here that are going to take care of that. We just don't know about it or whatever. So that's what kind of is what is at stake. So, and I know we already covered this briefly, but how do you assuage that type of feeling of panic or anger when it comes down to the kinds of things that people who either do or think they do understand what's involved?
I think a lot of it too comes down to education. Like you said, explaining how this whole process is going to work. Everyone watches the news, but if you watch the news, they're quick blurbs, quick, brief couple of minutes here and there. You're not really sitting down and educating yourself on the system, the process. If someone's saying, oh, that's unconstitutional, well, what constitutional right was violated? There's no explanation and education behind it all. And that's where my background varies. I have a master's degree in adult education, and I believe explaining things so people can understand. I think it is very scary to think that, the midterms are going to be a very key factor because if they take the House and the Senate, then we already know that they're going to basically do impeachments every single day. But people should get involved in these elections. And right now, more than ever, you got to pay attention not just to the primary and the general election, but also any special election that can come up. Because in Virginia, we're having a redistricting gerrymander issue right now where it's more than likely it's already passed. So it's probably going to go to a special election in April, as soon as April, where they're going to redistrict Virginia, which is going to completely throw everything off. And the redistricting was designed basically to make every district vote blue so they can pack the House and so they can follow this agenda that they just want to try to impeach Trump every step of the way. I'm here because I want to be a fighter for Trump and the America First agenda. And I think he needs all the support he can get. And he needs people who are going to have his back, fight in the arena with him and for him, and stand their ground.
So the question is, you know, do you support Trump? I mean, as dumb as that question may seem, right? I am 110% behind the guy. I don't care. I don't care what mistakes he makes. I know what the future holds without him. He's uniquely positioned in history. But not all people who
Yeah.
consider themselves conservative, or even a Republican, are 100% on board with that, which angers and terrifies and baffles me. but but that's my brain. How do you see it?
Like, I mean, if you just kind of take it down, so Trump is like the 30,000-foot view. If we kind of bring it down to the lower level and is like, just think of your boss, right? Everyone who's watching this, like, just picture your boss. Do you agree with your boss every single thing that they say? Do you dislike your boss? Have you been in disagreements with your boss? Like, but is your boss a good boss? Do they do the right thing? Do they help the company produce? Are they getting results, treating these staff incredible? Are customers happy? Right? Like, you're never going to like your boss 100% of the time. I mean, everyone watching this, if anyone's ever been in a relationship, then you probably got into a disagreement with your partner. Guaranteed it. In the last probably 30 minutes, most of you might even have gotten in a disagreement with your partner. But definitely in the last day, you've probably been like, I don't agree with that. And it's like, but Trump's agenda is America first. And I think he has truly good, honorable intentions. And he's
Yeah.
willing to work hard and to fight and to confront what no one else is willing to confront. And I
Well,
give him
I
all
mean,
the credit in the
even
world.
no one else even can. I mean,
No one else can. They're
there's decades of opportunities to have done the right thing, and he simply
Mhm.
just gets in and says, "Nope, nope, nope." And guess what? Right, 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 right. I mean, closing the border, that could have been
Exactly.
done decades ago, and it wasn't. Why wasn't it? Why wasn't it? That's another factor that always baffled me. Is you hear things, people claim things, and they position things, and they accuse things. Why are they taking that position?
Well, and
What's
it does
really
hit a
going
point.
on?
Yeah, exactly. Accountability in the government level needs to happen, period. To allow all these immigrants to cross the border illegally around, I mean, and the numbers skewed. You hear 15,000, you hear, or 15 million, you hear 20 million, you hear 25 million. However many it was, it is completely unacceptable that that happened, and negligence or lack of oversight should no longer be an acceptable excuse, especially at the government level. There needs to be people held accountable because this is just, I mean, it's a total shame what happened. And now we're in the position to where we have to undo all that damage. It's just unfortunate. And I think the government accountability needs to happen for sure.
Okay. So it does come down to basically a numeric advantage. Elections are numbers games,
Mm-hmm.
and they are persuasion games. I mean, we have this weakness where and I have it, where we think, but thinking has very little potential to motivate as feeling does, right? So feeling and emotion are connected to messaging, and we suck as a political ideological platform. We're bad at messaging. We tell ourselves that. We can go back and examine and look at it. But even if you have fantastic messaging, it's money that moves the message. That's really hard, very hard, especially with the way that political funding, favors across the board back behind the scenes are really done. And that's why it's a straight up struggle to get anywhere at all. Even if you have money, it's hard with the kind of opponents that we have. How's your campaign doing in that regard? And it's brand new, right? But this matters in any context of any campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are your thoughts on that? What can you tell us?
Yeah, so for my campaign personally, as I'm starting out, it's going to be a grassroots campaign. We're going to do everything we can to get our message out. But as you notice, and as you mentioned, money does move the message. So that's something we're working on. We're accepting, so anyone who wants to help out with our campaign, I'd be happy to send you to our website or our Facebook page to get more information, learn more, see how you can get involved and participate. We'll take all the help we can get. But yeah, as you noticed, so my campaign is going to be grassroots, but I have a feeling the more and more people I meet, the more people that are going to get involved and be able to participate and help out. And I'm confident in this campaign.
Well, I will say this about my boss, the national boss. I love the guy, and like I said, I don't. I would prefer his errors to someone else's correct positions because I know where it goes, and that's emotional to me. America first matters to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
To live in a safe community and have good neighbors and to participate and to contribute, that matters to me. But at the same
Absolutely.
time, I'm one of those pseudo intellectuals who's motivated by development of a thought or an idea as opposed to platitudes. Um, I get sick of those. You know, they have content. I mean, things like, well, even America first is a platitude. I believe in America. Okay, that's a platitude. That's great. What does that mean, really? Right? Or Second Amendment. That's the way we got to have it. Okay, fine. I agree with that. It's codified in the Constitution. But what does that mean when it comes to policy? And why would we make those gray areas, for example? So there's some thinking
Well,
behind there, and how you
well,
speak to it matters.
Well, and when I feel like when Trump says America first, that doesn't mean there's not a number two, there's not a number three, there's not a number four. Like there's other things in that line that are
Yeah.
going to get attention, but it just means America first. And to put this into perspective, so I've talked to a lot of people, and so you have Medicaid, Social Security, disability. We have our elderly, who our population who's on these. So I have literally met people who get $12 a month for food. I have met people who get $30 a month for food. I've met people who are on government assistance and get $100 a month for food. That is it. I literally $12 a month for food. Really? That's what we're giving them with these programs. And then on the flip side, if you look at it, there are other programs. Let's look at Minnesota, for example, where these people are getting insane amounts of money. They're getting grants in the millions, and they're not even offering services.
Right.
That's
Right.
absolutely absurd. And America First is saying, hey, we have people on Medicaid. We have Americans who are on Social Security. We have all these benefits and programs. Let's make sure they're okay. Let's make sure that they have what they need to get through what they're going through. And that's what America First means. It's saying, hey, why are we giving $5 million over here for a daycare that's not even doing anything, not even providing a single service to Americans? And then our programs are giving $12 a month for food to our seniors. That's absurd. And I know people watching this, they're going to be shaking their heads and saying, yeah, my uncle gets this much. Yep, my
Right.
mom gets this much. Yep, I get this much. And I challenge people who are watching this, how much do you get? How much help have you been given from our systems, from our programs? And most people, I know they're calculating the numbers in their heads, but most don't even have to. They're like, well, I've got nothing.
Right.
How
Right.
many people in your community, so with $189 million that Trump just announced is going to go to rural Virginia, I want to know who in District 5, because we're very rural. I want to know what healthcare programs came here. I want to know what services were provided. And it should be easy for people to access these services and to know that they're coming to their communities. But I
Well,
mean,
you know
to
what I'd
me,
want to know? I'd want to know is
exactly.
who's handling the funds and can we trust them?
Yes.
How much
And
how
that
much
should
how
be
much
transparent.
operational costs are going to be like somehow siphoned off, you know, that's given what kind of fraud that's been we all suspected, now it's being proved in terms of like massive funding that none of it goes to anywhere. It's funneled back into a particular leftist ideological party, so they
Mm,
can run again and do more of it. No wonder they're squealing. It's like a
hmm
parasite that suddenly doesn't have any more rotted corpse to feed on. Yeah, they get upset. You know?
Well, and you're getting close the louder people scream, right? To me, as a small business owner, this is
Yeah.
incredibly simple. Small businesses have CRMs, client resource management systems. And in these CRMs, it's software that helps you track your database and your client. And you can have all kinds of information on them. You can save, you can hold files if you're working with them. There's tons in there that you can track. So if someone's getting a $5 million grant to build rural medical access, we should be able to have enough data on them and that's
Mm.
transparent to the public because, for one, how do we know that the services were even offered? What services are being provided? How do you, as an everyday citizen, know, hey, that's coming here and I know I can get my X, Y, and Z appointment done there because they're offering it for free and I could take my kids to do this. Like, how do you know? Have you ever known what
No,
programs are out there?
well,
That's a
see
problem.
if the government's running it, you're guaranteed to get probably the worst run it could get run.
Mm-hmm.
And even when it's private, private groups, churches, et cetera, even then there's never a guarantee that it's being done properly, or with ethics and that kind of thing. And so what you're saying is, are we even looking? Can we have an honest tool to measure
Exactly.
and then know? Um, yeah, with this oversight stuff, that has its own expense, and people lie. No wonder.
The system is a problem. To me, that's my background, and that's why I'm here. Is I do have skill sets in other arenas. I have a government background, but systems. To me, why I'm running is because I am dying to get my hands on these systems because they're broken.
Yeah.
There is no excuse why we cannot go to one website and see everything. And it's easy to understand. It's plain English, simple language. We should all be able to go and see. So if you needed resources and programs, so if everyone's saying, hey, we're putting this much to Medicaid, well, we should know about that. People should say, hey, I'm going to go to this website. I'm going to click down here. Oh, and here's all the programs, and this one's local to me, or I've got to travel to this one, and here's how I contact them, and here's the services they offer. That is bare bones, basic common sense. And I am very technical savvy. And I'll tell you what, I can't even find certain stuff. When I have to
Sure.
deal with government websites and government platforms, it's so chaotic and it's so unacceptable that it needs to be simplified and modernized. And the only
So,
reason that you wouldn't want that is because you're hiding something.
okay, that gets to my point. So because I, as a host, I'm terribly interruptive, and I'm trying so hard not to be because I want to hear
No, I
what you have
love
to
it. Go
say.
ahead.
Well, so the county that I live in, there was what we called a revolution, and they went in and got a lot of stuff fixed. Got rid of massive debt, and they have a AAA bond rating. I mean, it's just marvelous success. One of the lower tax rates in the state for a county. And one of the things they did was they put the county ledger, the checkbook, online, so everything that's come in and out. It's there.
Yeah.
So that what that was a transparency accountability issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so people who are doing things and accustomed to them being the way they are don't want that sunlight, right? So there's pushback there.
Mm-hmm.
So that being the case, tell me more about yourself and your background. You've alluded to some of it. Tell me more about that gets into the kind of oversight, maybe eyesight of how things need to be and really customer expectation. I mean, what you were describing
Yeah.
about websites, that's a fail just on a basic customer expectation level.
Exactly.
So tell me more about your background and what you bring to the table to be more of a. I mean, you've got to support Trump 100%. Got to, and no one
You do.
that can't be assailable. But at the same time, you've got to represent. You've got to be able to speak. You've got to be able to think. And so your
Yes.
background brings what to that?
Yeah, so I served in the Marine Corps. I joined when I was 18 and I did one 5 year tour as an intelligence analyst. I got out, stayed in the Department of War
Better
field
term,
for some
Department of
time.
War.
So I do have a government background, experience writing, briefing. Essentially, that's the bulk of what we did, and counterterrorism and other stuff. Then I transitioned into real estate. So now I help people buy and sell. I renovate homes, flip them, remodel, have a rental portfolio. I'm currently working on a commercial building development that hopefully will be able to bring rural healthcare access to our community, but that's also with zero funding and support. That's all out of my own pocket. So my background is I'm big on systems, setting stuff up, making sure it functions properly, and accountability. So all my background really centers around accountability, systems, leadership, and things like that. And I know those are really key things that we need. I think communication from our District 5 House seat down back to the district is really important. I think we should set up
Okay.
simple ways that community members can reach out and have a voice heard, even if it's a routine virtual town hall that I set up with everyone. But I think the problem is there's a communication gap. And if I can fix that communication gap and make sure, hey, let's get the information back, make sure we're relaying it, what's happening, express the situation to everybody and what's going on, and then they can voice their concerns. I think that communication gap will help solve a lot. And sometimes a lot of stuff just comes down to education. People are confused if they don't know what's going on. They're upset if they don't know what's going on. But if you actually sit down and take the time to explain it to them, hey, this is what's going on, this is what happened, here's what we did, and here's what we're going to do, and here's the solution. People can process that and say, okay, okay. Or, you can listen to them and they might even also have a great idea to even make it better. So,
So that brings me to a question. I mean, I don't necessarily have orders, but one thing, I mean, this is a primary, and that's a choice, and as you mentioned, that we deserve to have choices if they're available, or
Hmm.
at least to consider them. So, tell me how you distinguish yourself, or maybe I should say, what distinguishes you from your opponent? And there may be more opponents coming. So, but your current one, what is the distinguishing thing that you think you excel and maybe make maybe a better choice?
Yeah, so I'm an everyday American. I have lived in the average American life. And to represent the everyday American, I know I can do that. I'm not a politician. I'm not
Mm.
as polished as some may want me to be for speeches, but I am a go getter and I will get the job done and I'm a fighter. I think right now the Democrats' tactic is to exhaust and overwhelm. And I think I'd be a great opponent for the Republican side, to represent the Republican side of this as one of their fighters. So I am here to get the job done. I'm here to offer my help and my support. And I'm offering to see what I can do to really move the needle in these 2 short years that we have for this seat.
So I will say this: one valid estimation, despite the reasons for low turnout amongst Republicans and conservatives, um, the main issue that no one could address effectively in a contest with Democrats was one, orange man bad, two, affordability, oh, and abortion. I had them jumbled in my head. Those were the things that the campaigns didn't address, couldn't speak to if they tried because they didn't. And there
On
was
the
Trump was no
Republican
example.
side?
Yeah, it was like there was no messaging about those things. They talked about other things which were true. They talked about facts and the Republican leadership and vetoes and with of bills with Youngkin and it was my own party and I don't really know what they were saying. I was kind of like, geez, this isn't going to work. Being personable, showing up, being available, all of those things, they were just difficult for the state races we saw. I don't include John Reed in that because that man knocked himself out and outperformed everybody dollar to vote, which was amazing. But this let me have you just talk about how to deal with issues that really are stupid. Okay, I mean, I think all three of those issues are stupid, all of them. Because one, he's great. Abortion. Stop killing kids that don't have a chance to take their first breath. And for heaven's sakes, why would you put it in the Constitution that they deserve to die when the moment they see sunlight, or just
Hmm.
a second before? And affordability. Things are more affordable because bad policies have been changed on a national level and a supply chain level. So that was a lie. Yes, they're out there too expensive. You referred to that, but there's some really serious issues. They worked. I don't expect them not to be used again in November. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think their tactics probably going to be the same thing right now. Really, all you hear is Orange Man bad. I mean, to me, it's so tired, it's so outdated. You
Yeah.
might as well be saying purple elephant. Like, to me, it's just a bunch of gibberish. But you do have people who believe that messaging, and I think if we really focus on the key details and like what actually matters, so affordability, talking about that more than just buzzwords, we need to
Mm.
sit down and have a conversation and explain it. Well, to make things more affordable, here's what's going on. Here's what could happen. Here's what we propose. And just explaining things a little bit more and helping people understand. And then two, with organizational change, that's one thing that I have seen. If it, for organizations from the small level down to the big level, when you try to change something, even making something better, so when you try to implement affordability, that means implementing new systems, new processes, new expectations, cutting stuff and moving stuff around. And people are really scared of change. And it takes some time to get them accustomed to accepting the change because you've got to bring them in and make them a part of the change, give them a purpose and involvement with it, and just help them be a part of it so we can get to the place where it needs to be to make it possible. So to me, it just comes down to sitting and having a real honest conversation with people is like, well, what do you want to see happen? And here's how we got to get there, but we got to get there as one.
So it's interesting. If the left was faced with this challenge, you could predict what they would do. Let's talk about affordability. It's affordable. What's wrong with you? Let's say as a tactic, or it's a privilege to pay more because our cause is right. That would
Who's
work,
it a
right?
privilege for?
Well, it doesn't matter. They never their
I
sloganism
know.
and their emotional appeal. We can't afford to give way to to bigots and the fascists. our democracy demands more. Those type of statements I can make up out of my head. They're vacuous and crap, and yet they motivate.
Mm-hmm. There's some things that just,
Well,
yes,
I
they
mean,
name call.
well,
At some point,
I predict that that's going to continue until communication and the beatings will continue till morale improves. These things will continue until education and communication have a better foothold.
yeah,
Because
absolutely. And also
yeah,
standing our ground. No, Donald Trump is not bad. He is a good person and he is doing what he thinks is right and coming up with a plan for the American people. So when people start coming out with these wild name calling accusations, I do think
yeah,
we need to confront that. I'm sick of hearing it. It's unacceptable. And they do not need to be speaking like that because the only thing they're doing is dehumanizing half the population, which I do not appreciate. And a lot of people do not appreciate it. So, first and foremost, what needs to happen is that needs to be shut down immediately. I am sick of
okay.
hearing it. And if you can't come to this professional conversation with facts, information, and a presentation, and you're just here to name call, then you don't deserve to be having this conversation until you can get your presentation together so you can come and have a normal conversation. What I tell people is like, imagine if you hire a realtor, right? So I'm a realtor. Imagine if you hired a realtor to represent you. So that means they had to go speak on your behalf to the other to the other realtor. So if you're the seller, they went and spoke with the buyer's realtor. Imagine if they just showed up to that negotiation name calling and just calling all kinds of crazy names. Like, how do you think that negotiation is going to go? Not so well for
No,
anybody.
it's gonna be everything we see wherever leftists gather and start screaming racist and fascist and homophobe, and
Yeah.
that's really all they got, which is nothing other than
It's
just
nothing. And
demonic
that's
noise.
what we
Yeah.
also have to accept is going back to when we were all kids growing up. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. I don't care. You can name call me all you want, but at the end of the day, I'm going to finish this presentation and this conversation, and we're going to do the right thing by the American people so we can get things up and running.
So
So
where the
let
left
them
is
say their
now
words, but we're going to finish and have a professional conversation and get this job done for the American people. That's what
so
needs to happen.
so where the left is now is like, fine, I'll break your bones then. You know, that's what we're seeing. I mean, they just invaded that church, or will they be prosecuted for the plethora of crimes that drives their thinking? Will the media that led them and encouraged them be prosecuted?
Well, and that needs to happen. If we create laws, if we take all this time, all this resource, and get everyone in agreement that this is a law, then it does need to be prosecuted. It can't be selectively enforced. That's absolutely unacceptable. That's not how governments run. Governments cannot run with one party determining the outcome. There's laws on the books for a reason. So
Yeah.
yes, what needs to happen is the next step of that is if they think they can start breaking bones, then we do need to start using law and order and enforcing the law. And that's what
Yeah.
needs to happen. We need accountability at all levels, especially within the government.
So my brother, he plays in a band as a hobby, but and he's a professional musician, and he's very patriotic in his presentations. And he told me the other day, he says he ended one of his sets with "God bless ICE," you know, and of course the crowd reacted because that's his crowd. Of course, there was a little Twinkie barmaid or bartender who was very upset that he said that, and she complained. I think it went nowhere, but he was kind of shocked that despite all the anyway. So it's on all this stuff is unpredictable, but let's get to one of the things that matters, and that is, well, one, it's been a privilege to get to know you and meet you. Thank you for what you're doing, because all of us have, in some level, a responsibility to apply ourselves and make sacrifice as the
Hmm.
contract with the future in our involvement and how we self govern. So, how do we? How do people get in touch with you? How do they follow up with you? What's your current modality for that? And we'll have that in writing in the description. But
Yes.
they need to talk to you.
Absolutely. So if you want to email me, the best form of communication is through email. So it's Melanie Lucero melanie.lucero4congress@gmail.com. Reach out. Like I said, this is a grassroots campaign, so we're going to be reading every single email that we get. Also on Facebook, the handle is going to be at Melanie Lucero for Congress. So we have a Facebook made. We're going to do all the other social media platforms and really get out there. But that is the best way to get in touch with me, is just send me an email, and then I could get you more information from there. We'll be putting more content out, especially as we move along in this campaign.
Well, Melanie, I want to tell you that I appreciate you coming on. It was great to talk with you, and good luck to you in the future, and good luck, and God save the Commonwealth.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, buddy, for having me. It was a great opportunity, and I'm very happy I got to meet you and learn more about you as well. So if anyone does want to get in contact with us, just email is the best form of communication. So it's melanie.lucero4congress@gmail.com. Also, the social media handles will be at Melanie Lucero for Congress. And if you just search those, we'll be adding more content as we get this campaign going.